Hey everyone, this is Dean, and welcome to Strange But Real. I got another story for you guys. I'm going to read this to you. I got another story, a personal experience of mine that I want to share with you guys as soon as I get the email from my friend, getting his side of the encounter, and I'll share his story, and then I'll give you my point of view on it. But this one, I'm going to give you another story. This one will be a little bit longer than my last video, my first video. If you haven't seen that one, go check that out. Got one more video before this one, but send your stories in to me and I'll get these out to you guys. The email is strangebutrealstories@gmail.com, and you can click on the link in the description of the video and in my YouTube channel. I've got the link tree to my email address. You guys can click on that to send me an email directly. But send your stories to me and I'll get them read to you. You can remain anonymous if you want to. I'd love to hear from you guys, because if you're watching this video, it's very likely you've experienced something strange yourself. So let's jump into the next story here. I don't even know. This one's called Savages, by the way. I don't even know how to begin this story except to say that anyone who believes Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever you want to call them are benevolent creatures or of the forest is a damn fool. These creatures are vicious and, dare I say, evil. They are highly intelligent and will kill just for spite of fun. My story begins in the summer of 1985. I had recently divorced, and all I got out of that was marriage. All I got out of that marriage was a couple of suitcases of my clothes and an old recliner and my dog Max. Max and I had been through a lot together. I had rescued him when he was just a pup, and he went with me wherever I went. After my divorce, I wanted to be as far away from Michigan as I could, so I drove due south until I came to a town called Paris, Texas. Not too far south of the Oklahoma border. Upon arriving, Max and I stayed at a Hotel 6 for a couple of weeks until I was able to rent an old single wide north of town. I found a job working at a lumber yard. I don't want to say specifically where. Well, that's understandable. You want to remain anonymous. The single wide was run down, but for me, being away from my crazy ex, it was all the Shangri-La. Max settled in nicely at the trailer on a half acre with woods and a nice large creek adjacent to the property. Max was a German Shepherd mix, and he was a big dog, about 60 pounds. He wasn't as active as when he was a pup, but still needed the land to stretch his legs. I didn't want to lock him in the trailer all the time, so I built him a decent-sized dog run and dog house. This way he could be outside if the weather was nice and had room to move about. I had plans on fencing in the trailer and giving him more area to move, but I never got around to doing that. Our first week at the trailer was great. There was nothing unusual. However, the second week began with me and Max being woken up to the sounds of someone walking around the outside of the trailer. Max freaked out and was barking nonstop, but that didn't seem to stop whoever was out there. Only when I turned on the outside lights did the person take off. I never saw anyone, but I now know that it was a damn Sasquatch, or as the Texans call them, East Texas woolly booger. The next night, the damn thing paid another visit, and like before, Max went bonkers and it ran off when I turned on the light. I was growing weary of the thing because I wasn't getting any decent sleep, and with my first shift at the lumberyard, it was making me very difficult for me. Every night that second week, the thing would come close, and each time Max would wake and bark, and I'd turn the lights and chase it off. I was done, and I needed a plan. After a few more restless nights, I came up with an idea after watching Hamburger Hill, a Vietnam War movie. What I did was I set up punji sticks all around the outside of the trailer, so if the thing came up, it would step on one of those sharp sticks and pierce its damn foot, hopefully hurting it enough so it would stay away. I spent my day off cutting down small saplings and carving them into little sharp sticks and placing them all around the trailer, specifically near the windows, just in case the thing decided it wanted to be a peeping Tom. I woke Sunday morning to a grunt and a howl. I'll admit it scared the living hell out of me. Max woke, of course, and began barking, and I went to check out what happened, but there was no sign of anything. When the sun rose, I investigated around a broken stick near my bedroom window. Yep, the thing was a pervert too, and it wanted to spy on me. I saw a trickle of blood, and all I could say now that I was happy as hell about what happened. That is, until it decided to pay me back. Sunday night, Monday morning, it didn't come by, so I figured I had won the war. I went to work, leaving Max in the trailer just in case. I came home that night to find Max's doghouse destroyed and that other punji sticks were pulled out of the ground and set in a pile next to my door. I was both pissed off and scared. This thing was smart. Max was shaking when I opened the door, and I found him shaking, and he even peed on the floor, something he had never done before. Monday night, Tuesday morning, Max and I were woken to a banging on the side of the trailer. I was so annoyed that I grabbed my shotgun, and marched to the door. I was going to let this damn thing know that I was serious. Unlocking the door, I threw it open and shot once into the air. I still recall to this day hearing it crashing through the woods. I must have scared it. Max and I went to bed and had no trouble for the rest of the night. I went to work, came home, and found the trailer and property fine, so apparently it considered us even. Like clockwork, it woke us up again, but this time it was shaking the trailer. I yelled and screamed for it to stop, and guess what? It did. I turned down the lights, but before I could get my shotgun, I heard it crashing into the woods. I was pissed, or it was either me or it, but someone was going to get hurt worse or killed. I told a coworker about the trouble I was having, and he mentioned the booger name. This is where I got it from, and it gave me an idea. It was something he had said his cousin had done. He told me things it loved to eat, and some people would leave this vicious thing's food. Yeah, can you believe it? They were treating them like they were their pets. He said his cousin let out some tainted meat, ground beef to be exact, with rat poison. I wasn't quite sure about taking it that far, so I held off. That is, until the night this thing woke us up by shaking the trailer and smacking a window so hard it broke. I was done. I was going to get the meat and poison it the next day. As planned, I got several pounds of ground chuck and some rat poison pellets. I made large meatballs and left them near the edge of the woods where it usually came from. That night, Max and I had a great night's sleep. I woke to the sun hitting me on the face, and I was excited. It had worked, or so I thought. I went over to investigate the meat and found 2 or 3 meatballs eaten. I looked around and found a half-eaten one a few feet in the woods. It no doubt figured there was poison in them and stopped eating. I looked into the woods and I was tempted to go deeper in, but something told me not to. I don't know, but I just felt like if I had gone in, I might not get back out. It was the strangest feeling, but one of the things I trust is my gut. I went back, got ready for work, and left. I told my coworker what I had done, and he was happy for me. He said that should take care of the problem once and for all. I came back home later that day, and all was fine. Max was good, no trouble it appeared. I was happy and thought I had finally taken care of the issue, but that wasn't going to be the case. Later that night, before I even got in bed, the trailer began to violently shake, and a loud banging on the walls told me this thing was getting me back. It was pissed off. Max was upset. He was barking and showing his teeth, and I had gotten my shotgun ready to go. I kept screaming for it to stop, but it wouldn't. I can't remember how long this thing was banging, but I had had enough. I was going to make my stand. I turned on all the outside lights, unlocked the door, and opened it, and stepped out onto the small front deck and readied my shotgun. Max burst from the house off the deck. His hair was flared, and he was ready to fight too. I saw the thing near the far end of the trailer near the bedroom. Max saw it too and went for it. I called Max back, but he must have had enough of this thing as much as me. All I remember is the thing ran away and Max chased it and went into the woods. It was fast, by the way. I'd never seen anything run as fast as this thing did. Max pursued it against my calls for him to return. I raced down to the edge of the woods, but stopped short of going in. I kept calling for Max, but there was nothing but silence. I must have stood there for a good 10 minutes when the silence was broken by something flying out of the woods. It hit the ground hard. I looked and saw Max. His body was broken, his head was twisted backwards, and I was beside myself with grief and anger. This savage thing had killed my dog, my buddy, my best friend. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrible. I was done, and I didn't care now if I died. I entered the woods, and I was going to kill this thing once and for all. I called out for it to confront me, but of course it didn't. I marched through the woods like an idiot, mind you, but never came face to face with it. After an hour, I went back, picked up Max, and took him back to the trailer. I didn't sleep that night. I'm not ashamed of saying it, but I stayed up most of the night crying. Max was truly my best friend and had been with me through thick and thin. I called in sick that morning, but feigned that I went to work. I parked up the street and wanted to see if that thing would visit the trailer. You know what? It did. In plain sight, I watched this savage exit the woods and make it towards the trailer. That was it for me. I was going to take it out. I drove into town and went directly to the firearms dealer and bought a bolt-action rifle. I was going to kill this thing like a good sniper would. That night the thing didn't come by. No doubt I must have known I meant business. The next day again, called into the work and went into the parked in the same spot. I was going to kill that thing. I set up a nice hideout in the back of my pickup truck and laid there. I waited, but it never showed up. I laid in the bed of my truck until late afternoon and finally gave up. That night I came and went with no visits, no banging, no creeping around. I didn't know what to think. The next week was uneventful. Then after 8 days I woke to find a stack of rocks near the woods where it had thrown Max out. I don't know what they meant, but they were there and it stacked them. I never heard or saw the thing again. All I can think of is after killing Max, it decided the fun and games were over and it best move on. I hate those savages, and if I ever get a chance, I'll put one down. Heck, I'll kill 100 of them. Well, that's the story. I can understand him being upset with it killing his dog and that. Not from what I've heard. I don't know personally, but from what I've heard, not all Sasquatch or Bigfoot are nice. There's some that haven't harmed anybody. There's some that just want you out of their territory. There's some that people have befriended supposedly. So, and then there's some mean ones, just like humans. There's humans that are absolutely downright evil and mean, and then there's nice average people as well. So, just because this thing killed his dog doesn't mean that they're all that way. But I can completely understand somebody getting upset like that, and especially if it killed his dog, wanting to kill the thing. But I'm sorry for that thing killing your dog, and it's a terrible story. There's not too many stories out there like that, them actually killing somebody's pet or their or them themselves. But I've heard there have been some stories of cases like that. But that's today's story. I would love to hear from you guys what your story is. Make sure you email it in at strangebutrealstories@gmail.com, and the email is in the video description and in my YouTube channel. If you go to my channel, you can click on that, my channel, and the email address is in there, as well as a link to get to it. So that's what I got for this story, guys. I'll try to get my personal story out to you guys soon. Just waiting on that, and I'll get that out to you. But let me know what you think of this story. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps the channel grow. I'm trying to get this channel to grow so we can share more people's stories and get this out to you. But make sure you're kind in the comments. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you on the next video.